What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Year Pro. Welcome back to a brand new video, man. We are here. We are back with the brand new video for you guys. And listen, in today's video, we're obviously going to be talking about the trade deadline and talking about primarily potential buyout signings that the Miami Heat can acquire in the buyout market. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video to hear. I have a top 5, so make sure you guys stick around to hear the top 5. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys want to see the Heat do. Like if you guys want any buyout signings, like from these guys or any other potential buyout signings. Go make sure you leave that in the comment section. If you guys want a list of all the players who are available, I believe it's on my Twitter at the Heat Report 2, which will be in the description. So make sure you guys go check that out. I did make a breakdown of who's eligible to be signed by the Heat and who's not. So let's get right into it. Without further ado, leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts and questions. Let's get right into it. So listen, the trade deadline, is we all know, is passed now, and yesterday was not the most eventful trade deadline day. A lot of guys that we thought were going to get moved just didn't end up getting moved, like DeJounte Murray and Kyle Kuzma and Alex Caruso and D'Angelo Russell. Like, none of these guys really got traded. So we didn't really have the most eventful trade deadline, but especially from the Heat's perspective, obviously having made their move and getting Terry Rozier a couple of weeks ago, I didn't really anticipate them to do anything else in the trade deadline, and I know a lot of people were hoping, and so was I, that they would do something, but I didn't really see it as a realistic option for them to do something like that. Obviously, I feel like it is frustrating that a lot of teams around us did strengthen the Eastern Conference, and that is going to be very, very tough to beat come playoff time. There's legitimately 5-6 teams around us that really do have shots at getting to the finals. It's not just 1 or 2 teams like last year. You see the Knicks arguably won the trade deadline. Indiana made their move by getting Siakam, but they also strengthened around the edges in the trade deadline. Cleveland didn't really do much, but Cleveland was on a roll, and I think they've won, like, out of their last 20 or so games, I think they've only lost 1 game. Milwaukee, I thought, made a big trade in getting Pat Bev. I thought the Celtics managed to squeeze in 2 rotational caliber players with a few second-round picks. They were able to do that, and the Heat didn't really do anything. I thought they should have explored some trades with the Jovic and Drew and Thomas Bryant package, and especially even with Caleb, if you wanted to flip him. I understand why they didn't want to flip Caleb, because I feel like they know that he's a vital piece of this team, but especially some of the guys who haven't really been getting minutes this season, you package them up with that pick we have. I don't know, you never know, but it is what it is. They didn't really do much at the deadline. They made their move 2 weeks ago. Whether that puts them over the top or not is yet to be seen. But as of right now, it's going to be very difficult to come out of the East, let alone win the whole championship, when you have all these teams around you that have really strengthened. I haven't even mentioned, a team like Philly, who is basically a wild card. When Embiid comes back, or if at all he comes back, they're going to be a good team. I thought they made a good move by getting Buddy Hield in. So, listen, it's not going to be an easy season, especially come playoff time, but we are here to talk about the buyout market, because that is where we look forward to next. And there are a couple of pieces on the buyout market. I have a list of 5 names I would potentially want the Heat to go after, in the buyout market, and we're going to get right into it. I think all of these guys have officially been waived. Now, one of the guys that I don't have is Otto Porter, and that is because I don't think Otto Porter has officially been waived by Utah. But Otto Porter would definitely be in the mix. If I had a 6th player, it would probably be him. But we're going to get right into who I think the Heat should look after now. Again, there's a list of potential guys that are eligible and not eligible to be signed by the Heat on my Twitter. There are a couple of pieces on that list that are really intriguing as far as potential is concerned. I really like Killian Hayes and James Bouknight as far as guys you can take a chance on, but I don't really think the Heat are in a position to do that. So if you're one of the people who wants them to take a chance on one of these young prospects, I understand what you want to do, and I understand why you want to do it. And I do think that the Heat can really get something out of these guys, because they do maximize these guys who really were cast away by their former teams or didn't really develop, and they really do maximize their talents. We've done it so many times before. But I think as of right now, when we're trying to win a championship, those guys don't really help us do that at this point. So I would stray away from getting those guys right now, but I understand anybody who wants them. I mean, I would not even be opposed to signing them, in the future. But yeah, we are here to talk about these potential 5 players that I think the Heat can go after. And let's just get right into it, man. Number 1 on the list, I have Thaddeus Young. Now, Thaddeus Young is, I think, an extremely versatile player, man. He's a guy that is a big locker room guy. He's I think there's like some stats about him that like only like him and like a few of these Hall of Fame players share like some statistics. I remember there was one stat when he was with Indiana, but we're not talking about Indiana Thaddeus Young. We're talking about right now Thaddeus Young, and obviously he's a little bit past his prime, but I feel like he could still be a very solid contributor. Now, the Heat last year did a very good move in the buyout market when they got in Kevin Love, and he's been an absolute sensational buyout signing, for the low risk and the high reward factor. I feel like Thaddeus Young, I'm not going to say he's going to replicate that, but I feel like he would be the closest one to doing so. Just because of his presence in the locker room, I feel like he would bring that same type of energy, the same type of leadership that a lot of these guys on the team would want. I'm pretty sure Thad did also play with Jimmy when he was with Chicago. Or I may be wrong. I don't know. If somebody could fact check that with me in the comment section below. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head right now. Thaddeus Young might have also had that chemistry with Jimmy Butler. But if not, man, just on the basketball floor, I feel like he's a very solid defender. He's very versatile. I feel like he can bring the ball up sometimes if you need him to. Shooting the ball is not really his biggest strength, but I feel like he can definitely space the floor if need be. And he can also definitely drive to the rim and finish and draw some fouls if need be. So he's a very versatile gadget guy. Like, you can really just, you can just plug him in and he can do a little bit of everything if need be. He's not going to be your number 1 or number 2 option, obviously. None of these guys will be. But I feel like out of all the options on here, he definitely fits the prototype of the player that the Heat would be wanting. The Heat always, target these defensive-minded players, and Thaddeus Young is a defensive-minded player, and he has a lot of size to him, which is why I really like his game. I think he's about 6'9", 6'10", and we don't really have that much size on this roster. So getting a guy in with that size and that, those tools defensively, and not to mention he's a great teammate and a great locker room guy, I think would definitely be the top of my list to get a guy like Thaddeus Young in. Number 2 on my list is DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright is a guy that is probably already familiar with the culture and with how things work here, just because his brother Darrell, shout out to Darrell, he played on this Heat team, back in 06, 05 days, and he was a very key piece for this team. DeLon is a guy that is a very good defender, first and foremost, another defensive-minded first player, but also he fits a need. The Heat don't really have a backup point guard, and I think that DeLon Wright is a very good option. He's not really going to be like your floor general or anything like that, but he's definitely going to do a lot of these little things that will be key to winning. He's a pest defensively. He can knock down a shot here and there if need be. He can make a key pass. He's just a winning player. He's not somebody who's the most skilled or the most talented, but he does all the right things, and he does a bunch of things that would help this this team win. I believe he was part of that 2019 Toronto team that won the title. So I would definitely say DeLon Wright as my number 2 option for sure. Moving on to number 3, I would probably go with a guy like Ish Smith out of Charlotte. Now, I don't think Ish Smith is being talked about a lot, but again, Ish Smith definitely fits a need for this team. And I feel like Ish Smith is a guy that I would really like, man. I feel like Ish Smith is a dude that I don't know. He's just a very crafty player. He does a lot of things that can really help this team win. He's a floor general. He's a very high IQ player. He's a vet. He can run an offense. In Charlotte, I feel like Ish Smith was really the guy that was really getting them under control whenever they were getting sped up. And he's a guy that's been around the league so many times. I mean, it's not going to take him time to adjust, man. He's already used to being a journeyman in this league. And definitely, as far as a need goes, he definitely fits that with his playmaking, with his ability to run an offense, with his speed. He's one of the fastest players in the NBA still at his age. Like, if you look at the measurements, Ish Smith is an extremely fast NBA player. Maybe not many people talk about Ish Smith like that, but I feel like Ish Smith is extremely underrated, and I feel like he's a guy that off the bench could definitely help this team. At number 4, we do have a guy that Pat Riley has always wanted, I believe, and he's definitely wanted him in 2020. We almost had a trade for this guy, but it fell through last minute, and we were able to get Jay Crowder instead of this guy. But Danilo Gallinari is a guy that I forgot what team he got traded to. Was it the Pistons? I don't think he got traded at the deadline. Yeah, the Pistons are gonna buy him out. And listen, man, Danilo Gallinari is a guy that the Heat have been wanting. You know, I know this for a fact, and we all know this has been well documented by that Pat Riley has wanted to trade for Danilo Gallinari for a while now. Gallinari is an extremely skilled player, and honestly, a lot of people, you know, when you had Nikola Jovic come out of the draft, a lot of people compared him actually to Gallinari coming out. Gallinari doesn't really fit the ideal type of player that the Heat would go after. He's not really a defensive-minded player. He's honestly not a good defender at all. I'm just going to be very honest about his game. But offensively, if you're talking about, you know, his game, he's definitely the most skilled player out of anybody who's on this list right now of these top 5 players that I would be looking for if I was the Heat. He can shoot the ball, he can space the floor, he's an underrated passer, and he's an underrated ball handler. So on offense, he's really going to be able to fit in really well on this team. And it's kind of like, which one do you prefer? Now, whenever we try to go after these guys who've been offensive-minded players, like even Bjelica, I don't know if you all remember Bjelica on this team, but Bjelica was a guy that kind of was like a Dollar Tree version of Gallinari. You know, he wasn't really as good as Gallinari was, but Bjelica did a lot of the similar things that Gallinari would, but Bjelica just wasn't able to find his place on the court because he literally could not defend anything. And that's the main reason why Gallinari is not higher on this list, is because I just don't know where he's going to play defensively. You know, I feel like all these guys are going to be able to get minutes in the rotation because of their defense, the top 3 guys that I named. But Gallinari is going to be a guy that if his shot is not falling, and if he's not really contributing on the floor as far as being an offensive player, he's really going to be out there just hurting the team because he can't defend anything. So he's a guy that I have on this list because I feel like it's very realistic that we go after him because we already wanted him before. I feel like it wouldn't take much time for him to get integrated into the offense, and I feel like as far as offensive needs are concerned, he would be the best at filling those. So I would go with Gallinari at my number 4 spot. And then at number 5, this would probably be where Otto Porter would have been if, you know, if the waiver process or the release process of him actually went through. Like, I don't think the Jazz have announced that they're waiving Otto Porter yet. So because of that, I have to hold off on putting Otto Porter up here. I'm actually going to go with a guy like Corey Joseph. Now, Corey Joseph is, again, not the flashiest player on this list, but a lot of this is based on what we need, and we desperately lack depth at that point guard position. That's why I have three of them on this list. Again, you can kind of take your pick between who you prefer. I think Corey Joseph is definitely the guy that I would want the least out of the 3 that I named, but he's definitely an option that I feel like could be useful. He's a guy that is a veteran presence. Again, he's a guy who's going to be able to run your offense off the bench. He can definitely shoot the ball. Out of all these point guards, he's probably the best shooter on here. But he just doesn't really have it, you know, as far as a guy that brings it defensively. He's not the best defender, and he's definitely not the best playmaker on this list as far as the point guard position. Other guys that I consider for this is Daniel House, who got waived by Detroit after being on Philly. And let's be honest, there aren't really much names out here that are like, oh wow, like we definitely need one of these guys. Like, it's not like that. And obviously the main reason for this is that we are over the first apron with the collective bargaining agreement that has been signed, and basically that's just a fancy word for saying we just have too much money on our books right now, and we just don't have the money and the cap space to sign a player who's making more than $12 million a year. Honestly, Corey Joseph and Killian Hayes is very interchangeable for that 5 spot. The only reason I picked Corey Joseph was because I value that veteran experience more. I feel like he could help us win right now. Killian Hayes is more of a future piece. But yeah, there wasn't really too much out there for that 5 spot. If Otto Porter, if the waiving process of him got, you know, actually put out there, then I would definitely have him at my 5 spot. But which I think it will happen, which is why I'm even talking about Otto Porter, because it just really doesn't make sense for the Jazz to just keep him on the roster, especially because he probably wants to compete for a championship. So yeah, that's probably what my 5 would be. Again, this buyout market is not the best for the Heat. There are a lot of names on here that the Heat could not sign, like Marcus Morris or Spencer Dinwiddie, I think, is the biggest name that I think a lot of teams would want to get. And I feel like he would be amazing on the Heat, but obviously we're not going to be able to get him because he makes too much money. Same with Marcus Morris, same with Kyle Lowry, same with a lot of these guys who are really just making too much money for the Heat to get, like even like a Bertans or someone like that. So out of all the options, I feel like these 5, 6, 7 players that I kind of floated over would definitely be some of the, best, I guess, options for the Heat to go target. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, man. I want to hear what you guys think. I feel like in an ideal situation, one of either Thaddeus Young, DeLon Wright, Ish Smith, Gallinari, or Otto Porter, if he were to get waived, would be the best case scenario for this Heat team. And I definitely do expect them to get a player. It's not like they're not going to do anything in the buyout market. I do think they're going to sign somebody. We just have to wait and see when it is and who it is. So that's what we're going to be doing, I guess, as Heat fans, just waiting to see what happens. But again, trade deadline, a little bit disappointing that we weren't able to get in the mix, but I do understand the fact that we just didn't have a lot of the assets that a lot of other teams did. So it is what it is, man. Let me know what you guys think about the trade deadline and the buyout market and potential signings in the comment section below. And yeah, man, I'll see you later as always. Peace.